are going to be the first majority in the United States. So maybe the US won't be the main superpower in half a century. I have my doubts that China will be able to become the first super. The key reason of why China is a state civilization and has been contained within the region is because of geography. And that has never been a maritime superpower. Sea lanes from the Chinese perspective, it's you have tons of islands and archipelagos and straits. So it's very difficult to have an international projection from China without the US. I mean, well, China became a superpower in the past 30 years, 40 years. In the US-led order, especially the post-Soviet US-led order. And that's a political decision of the US. All the world system relies on the US Navy. For example, that's one of the things that I started noticing in the past few years, that the most developed countries started to build their own carriers.
Aircraft carrier?
You know how President Moon had the project of making the first Korean aircraft carrier by 2030s? You know what I'm talking? No? Oh, well, Korea was President Moon kicked off of building an aircraft carrier. You know, these very massive boats that with jets and helicopters that can sail very far away from land and are basically like a military base. Well, right now, it's basically, well, Japan has a navy in the world, but basically all the world system relies on the US and its aircraft carriers. Like, I can send wheat and soy and maize from Argentina to Korea without worrying that it will get to its place, and Korea can send its cars and phones and whatever from that little country to anywhere in the world, because the US has created a world system, and the security of it happening is because the US Navy exists. That disappears. We go back to 1930. Though the Chinese are building aircraft carriers and a lot of military boats and so on and so forth, even if you have that, you still have the problem. I mean, the Chinese would still have the problem that the archipelago, like Indonesia and Philippines and so on and so forth, do not disappear. It doesn't matter if you have an aircraft carrier. You're going to be having to pass through one of those archipelagos, and you don't need much of a technology to sink those aircraft carriers. China, for the time being, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't see that China is going to be able to replace the US as the world hegemon, because it cannot have a secure world projection because of this. The US is in a superb geographical position because it has no foes that can reach its mainland. It has access to the two biggest oceans, Atlantic and Pacific. It basically has a lot of geographic advantages, except the main advantage that China has, maybe, is located where most of the world population is. All the stuff, like silverware, like China and tea and silk and so on and so forth, bring it to Europe and sell it for gold. So in already in that exchange, they would make a big difference. Potosí and maybe later Mexico, but basically Potosí. And Potosí, well, nowadays Potosí, it was part of Argentina until 1825. And
Wow. Why you always tell me like a historian?
I don't know. You ask.
Compliment. It's compliment. I mean,
I see.
how could you know well about the worldwide history thing? Anyway, continue.
You just read here and there.
Because the answer, the answer is I'm AI, like that.
Oh, I see.
해봐. Try to. Why?
Because I'm AI.
Correct.